The only thing I ever remember was it was swallow built in the cow house, right? They wouldn't interfere with the swallow's nest because if it did, the cow would make blood. They couldn't, the farmer wouldn't let you interfere with the nest, whatever it was, whatever they built, to stay there until the fledglings were ready to go. But out, they said that the cows would make blood if you interfere.
We have a holy well, a blessed well. It will be on the standard when it's taken. The first Sunday, the nearest to the 20th of August, is always held. And he was a hermit. St. Moling was the man, and he lived as a hermit in them years ago, up in a rock. It was all a big rock. And he used to have, his bed was made out of just concrete, you know. It showed, I climbed up to it one day with some people, you know. It was hard to get up to, but they have a way now, I think they have a wall. And there's what they call the patron. That's the patron saint, you see, St. Moling. He lived there as a hermit, up in the hills. He came down in the daytime to the lovely valley underneath, and he used to do a pilgrimage there. And there's a farmhouse always there, a small farmhouse. There were always somebody living quite near where he was. And this woman, in whatever year it was, she had, I suppose, only one cow, maybe, or two.
Yeah.
And she blamed him. He had sores on his legs, and I think there's a cure in the water, that water, for ulcers. There's a lovely blessed well. There's always a thing laid out for her to drink, and that's the 20th of August. It was quite near where I lived, not far away, you know.
Yeah.
And they hold that patron now every year. And people whom I knew coming from school at the farmhouse, when they all died, they left money for an altar to be built. And the statue of St. Moling is there. You can see it if you were going on towards a place called Thomastown. You could pass by the blessed well. Most people stop off and get a drink in the well and bring it home as well. And there's a tree, and a very old tree now, because when the young people used to go to the patron, they'd always take a piece of this tree. You're meant to take a piece of the tree and bring it home, and you'd never have a fire, a dangerous fire. You'd never be burnt, nor your house would never be burnt. But this woman that had the cow, she went up one day and ordered St. Moling away. She said that her cow, or whether it was only one cow or what, that century, that I think in the 7th century he was there, the 7th century. It was there now, in fact. He was a lovely young man. And she ordered him away. She said her cow was licking the sores on his leg, and she ordered him away. And they're supposed to be, well, I don't know what you'd call it. He was a saint, but he did put something on the place, and he was driven away, and he became the first bishop of Ferns. He crossed the River Barrow, and there's another lovely place belonging to him. He was a while up in St. Mullins. Do you know
I was up there.
The really well. Yes, he's the same.
Were a priest up there.
Yeah, that's the same man.
Yeah.
But he became first bishop of Ferns, bishop of, Ferns. He went away, but he put a curse. They said he put a curse. I don't know the real history of that. But he did say something, and he said, Mulnakill is the name of it. It's called after him, St. Moling.
Yeah.
And she sent him away. And he said that Mulnakill and Coolnahaw, them two places, would never be without a fool or a nunchuk, whatever a nunchuk is. And that thing is true, because there was a big family of boys growing up there, going to school. A lot of them went to school with us. They had no girl in the family. And the father, the old man, he hanged himself. And later on, in my time, I was married in Clonmines at the time, and there was, what's this happened to him? this boy, yeah, there were 7 boys, no girl in the family. They were a little bit strange, you know. They used to bother coming out much, you know, always with the mother inside. Only one that went out a bit, and he worked in the factory in water. He was the only one, you know. But the other brothers went to school with me. And this fella, there was another house beside him, quite near. The 2 houses, farmhouses, was together, where this woman and her 7 sons lived. And there were other farmhouses around. And there was a place called the Storm Wall. And the farmers' men would be out in the night time. They'd go out, I don't know whether they played skittles or not, but they'd be talking among themselves. And these boys wouldn't bother coming out and joining them or anything, but they'd love to know what they were talking about, you know, that kind of way. So this girl, she finished school just before, as I started in Mulnagill. She finished, and she married a man over there. He was at Conway, although I'm Conway too. I was Conway before I married, and she was finished school, and she married a Michael Conway. But I don't think they were any relation of my father's, I'm not sure. But I did know him when I was a child, and he had a very weak, bad stomach, you know. He died eventually. And all these Murphy boys were big, strong boys, and they were quite near. But they were great to work at home, and you know, whatever land they had and whatever cows they kept, they'd bring in the cows. They'd be putting out the cows up a big lane, you know, when others would be only bringing them in. So they helped her an awful lot when her husband died, you know, they helped her. They put down the crop for her, helped her to do it, you know, they were big boys. So now their mother died, and they were kind of lost then, they always had the mother. So she, in turn, for the good work that was done for her, you know, the way they helped her, she said she had only 2 girls, or 3, I don't know, was it 2 or 3 girls she had, no sons. And she said they were quite near the 2 gates going into the 2 places. And she sent in her daughter to wash for them and make bread and help them that way, you know. So they did. So the youngest fella, Jimmy Murphy was his name, he was a little bit not right, you know, a little bit. So he imagined that she was his girlfriend, or that she'd stay all the time or something like that. So when she was 17, she was going to go to her first dance. And it was very lonely up that area, you know. She was only going to a place where it would be a I don't know what it would be, and there'd be a bit of dance, and she was delighted to be going. And another woman from the area was going to go with her. So they went into Ross. Ross would be the town, the nearest town. So they were into Ross, and she got her hair permed, and she got a new clothes and things for the night. And she noticed after a while that this Jimmy Murphy followed them into every shop that they went into. He seemed to follow them in.
Yeah.
And go away again, you know. So it seems he was suffering from nerves or something. And he went to the doctor that day in Rossbergen. Doctor, I forget his name now, the doctor that was in Rossbergen. And it just happened at that time that this doctor had a nerve doctor down from Kilkenny at that week. And anyone that complained of nerves or anything connected in that area, he sent them to the nerve doctor. Now the nerve doctor, if Dr. Fitzgerald was the medical man, but Dr. Fitzgerald knew the Murphy, he knew about them, and he knew their lives and all, you know. But the nerve man didn't know anything about him, but he did give him tablets that day to take. So the girl was going, she was going to go to the dance that Sunday night, and this was Saturday that she got her, that went with her mother and got the new dress and whatever else, and her hair done and all this. So that morning she used to stay because to get up to meet the cows. The mother, Michael Conway was dead, and her mother and the other sisters, 2 sisters I think there were 3 in it, and she was the eldest. They'd go to first mass in Mulnargle, and then the others, she'd have to stay back and milk the cows and do things like that. And she'd go to second mass in Tullaher, which was the parish, church. So, on the Sunday morning, the mother called her before she went to first mass. Now, she was going to the dance thing, that party, wherever she was going, that night. And when they'd be coming from first mass, they should meet her going to second mass on a bike. And that particular Sunday, they didn't meet her at all. And she said Bridget was her name, her first name anyhow, and she said to the girls, the 2, that was the ones that was with her, because she said Bridget must have fallen asleep again. And she was a bit, thought it was a bit strange, because she was so full of going to the party that night, with whoever she was going with. So, when they got home, when they got up to their own house, and the 2 houses were so close, there were a big crowd of people. And this Murphy fella, not Jimmy now, but another brother in it, and he was really devil. He was no good going to school. The mister, she used to hop off of him. He had lovely white curls, and she had a cane. His old teacher used to have a cane, a bamboo cane. And she asked him tons, and she'd tell him what it was. A question out of the catechism, but she'd tell him the answer when he couldn't find out. And then he'd forget it in a minute, and she'd ask him again, and he wouldn't be able to say it, so he often got a hammer over there. So he was there, and he kind of went foolish altogether when, the mother was gone. And he went over to poor Mrs. Fleming, and he said, she said, what was all the people, what were all the people doing? And he said, Jimmy Murphy, he said, is dead. And your daughter, he said, is dead too. And what happened was, he watched her that morning, and he was putting out the cows when she was bringing them in after the mother getting her up, or telling her to get up in time. And whatever happened after that was up a lane, and the cows, their cows would be going out, and her cows would be coming in. And he shot her.
Yeah,
he shot her dead.
Oh, shot her dead.
He shot her dead. The bullet went through. He'd stolen the gun as well off of a brother. The brother that was working had a new gun, and he knew about it, and he took the gun, and he went out and shot her. That was another thing that happened. You see, that was whatever misfortune, whatever the saint said, the Saint Molling, he put some kind of a bad feeling on that place because she drove him away, that woman, the neighbour, the woman that told him the cows was doing. And that's on him today. His grandfather hanged himself. He shot her and shot himself. I think that's the last thing happened there. There were 3 things anyhow. Yeah, but St. Molling went to St. Mullins, and there's a lovely well there belonged to him. And we have a blessed well as well. The nearest to the 20th of August, the Sunday nearest the 20th. And the three priests comes up from Rossbergen, the parish priest, and the other priest to be with them. And there'd be always maybe another priest home on holidays. They'd come up, and there's mass said there every year now. There's a lovely statue of Saint Molling, taken in the 7th century.
Where is it? Is it near that little bridge? The priest's house is up on Chamber Hill, a small, short hill, where I was walking. But I never was able to when I up there. I never saw any cross or
where were you
well or anything.
How was the
I was walking in St. Mullins.
Oh yeah, but that's up in St. Mullins, that's another part. that blessed well is there.
Oh, yeah.
That's because he went there and lived there.
Yeah.
He thought an awful lot about, you know, that said.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a hermit, you know.
Yeah.
And they say that they're always, the well in Mullakill is there. And people passing along, going from Mullavat on to Thomastown and going on that way, they all know about this well. And 'tis made lovely now, it was all done up and steps down to the well. And there's always something there to drink the water out of. They made it into it was running first, now they have it in a well, like, you know, and the water is left out as lovely water. They say they're securing that water for ulcers.
Ulcers? What do you drink it?
Ulcers on the legs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.